The GAA Hour with Colm Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the money back special.
And when I started running, I suppose I didn't stop, and when I got the chance to go on, I said I should go on, so I opened up.
We were only the small little fish out there, so we are, and
Very good. I'm not sure if that's Kilkenny or Tip. Who's making the most noise? Well, I thought you didn't support your teams very well, Kilkenny and Tip. One minute. Let's get a shout from the Kilkenny fans. Tipperary? Oh, okay. I think Tipperary slightly won that one. Not too sure about that. Well, listen, welcome to the GAA Hour live show, All-Ireland Final Preview Show. We have a great show lined up. So, you know the panels by now. We have Owen Larkin, Lar Corbett, JJ Delaney and Brian Gavin on the first panel, and then we have Derek McGrath, the great Charlie Carter and the Rock O'Sullivan on panel 2. So we'll get started, and to be fair, Donal O'Cusack, who's not here today, has had some things to say about kind of high-profile RT pundits. Let's say he rattled a few cages. So some of them have had their comebacks to him. The one man who hasn't really had his say, because he's gone off the Sunday game, is Ger Loughnane. So we wanted to find out what Ger thought about all of this shit. So we sent one of our work experience reporters off to try and find out where Ger is.
This is a total and absolute disgrace to us.
Sweet suffering Jesus, what does Joe Bolly want, huh? Well, Joe, what's the crack?
Sure. Have you seen what Donal Oak said about us in the Sunday game? It's an absolute disgrace, so it is. You must come back onto the show.
Joe, I told you already, I've retired, right? And I ain't coming back to the Sunday game, that's it. I'm living in New York now anyway, right?
You're living in New York? That's it. I'm coming to get you, Ger. We need you back in the Sunday game, pal.
Joe, don't you dare, right? I'm having the time of my life over here, right?
Jude man's apartment's got to be around here somewhere.
Come on. Ger, I'm here to take you home. We need you back in the Sunday game. It's urgent.
Right, Bolly, what in the name of Jez is this all about, huh?
Ger, we need you back in the Sunday game. Have you seen what Donal Oak's been saying?
Joe, I can't leave. The women, Americans, Italians, Russians, you name it.
Ger, come on, you catch yourself on. You know, what sort of woman would you be attracting to?
Ger, what's taking so long?
Just give us a second, just chatting to Joe, all right? Absolutely. I got her now at a Junior B game, would you believe that? Garrick Park. You want some meatloaf, do you? Davy, the meatloaf!
No, I'm fine.
Huh? Look, Joe, I ain't going home, right? It's just serious crack over
Ger,
here.
look, she's just one woman, you know. You can't be here over...
Oh, you heading off, Alina, huh?
I have to leave.
Oh, you have to go, is that right?
Позвони мне.
Absolutely.
You're just living the dream. I love it.
Oh, stop. Beautiful stuff. Now you can see why I ain't going home, huh?
And why would you, pal? And I will have some meatloaf, by the way.
Davy, the meatloaf! Now! Never know what he's doing back there, huh? So what's this crack you were saying about Cusack, huh?
I just said the likes of myself and yourself that criticise defensive play are in keeping with the last remnants of British culture within Ireland. You know, some crap like that.
Is he calling me British? Huh?
Well, oh yes, he's calling you British, pal. I wouldn't take it.
That's it. Get my bag. I'm going home. Book the flight. We're going home. I'm going to sort a few of these boys out, right? Absolutely.
I'll book the flights.
Did I just hear you're leaving?
Don't look Cusack's at it again, huh? Calling me British.
The Sunday game should have sacked his ass years ago.
Even she knows it, huh? Absolutely. I'll be back next summer, right?
Fuck you.
Want them back at RT. Loughnane is back. Absolutely.
All right. And before his appearance on the Sunday game, we're lucky enough to have him here tonight. So give him a round of applause, Sherlock Nan.
And will it? Jeez, you wouldn't have room to turn a sweet in your mouth here, eh?
How are you, Jared? Jesus, looks like you're living a dream over in New York.
Well, Jesus, will I tell you now, I was doing some amount of riding, huh? Horses in Central Park. It was great crack, I have to say that now. And then I was there, I was having the time of my life, and then Bradley comes over, tells me what Cusack says, and I said, Jeez, I have to come home. So here I am. I've had to sort a few boys out, huh?
Yeah. Can you see what Don Logue was trying to say?
To be honest with you, no, I can't. I've never met a fella more full of his own self-importance or more full of shit than Donald Cusack. I'll tell you now, that lad, he's absolutely full of it. Do you know what I mean? And he wants to manage Cork. I hope he managed Cork, because I hate Cork. And absolutely. And McGrath was at it as well. Do you know what I mean? McGrath was saying this, that, and the other. And McGrath wants to be the Waterford manager again. I heard on the radio the other day, yeah? Absolutely. Well, in fairness to him now, you listen. He wasn't a bad manager there. You take the positives when he was with Waterford. You know, he took over there 2014, challenged for the All-Ireland, didn't win it. He took over in 2015. He was there 2015. He didn't win it either. 2016, he got close. He didn't win it. 2017, they challenged again. He didn't win it. So he's a very consistent manager, is Derek. Do you know what I mean? But look, I'm back. And that's the crack, and you know, it's back, it's some serious analysis now, you know, none of this personal digs and abusing teams and managers, I don't like all that. Back now to analysis by Sherlock Nan, just proper, just about the match, and that's it.
Okay, well here's the analysis then. Who's going to win the All-Ireland?
Well, it's hard to say, you know, it could be either one or two teams, Tipperary or Kilkenny, right? Two of the worst teams I've seen now compete in All-Ireland in a long time. Absolutely, you look at it, the standard of hurling is so bad, let me tell you that. So bad. Remember back in the day when you had the likes of JJ and you'd Lar, you'd own Lar. Okay, the standard was probably worse back then. But at least those lads would go, you know, they'd take lumps out of each other. Do you know what I mean? You know, I was chatting to Babs Keating there one day. He told me, that Lar Corbett fella, he says that one of the worst players he's ever managed. Do you know what Lar told him at the start of a season one time? He says, are you going to commit the tip? He says, I will. Absolutely, Babs. He says, but here's the thing. He says, I can play the matches, but I can't train. Imagine that. I can play an inter-county hurler says that, play the matches, but you can't. I tell you one thing, JJ, you didn't bet him half hard enough, whatever he is. There he is. Lar Corbett's in there. I tell you, Lar Corbett, he absolutely, I went to watch him, the 2014 All-Ireland hurling final. I went in nice and early to watch Lar, and I have to say, Lar, jeez, I thought you were brilliant. Jeez, he was so sharp. Do you know what I mean? Very risky, over and back, you know, long ball, catching the whole lot. And then the ball was thrown in and he collapsed. Do you know what I mean? Just absolutely. And in fairness to Lar, Lar followed Tipperary through thick and thin. And anyone from Tip knows that Lar is fairly fucking thick, do you know what I mean? But that's it. Who's going to win now on Sunday? Look, I have to say, I would say that this is the worst Tipperary team I've seen in years. I'm sorry. They'll beat Kilkenny by about 10, I'd say, absolutely. Anyway, lads, I'm off. Good luck. I'll see you after.
Okay, we're very lucky we have Sherlock Nan here tonight, and we have Davy Fitzgerald. Davy, nice to meet you, Davy. You must be delighted with the progress that Wexford have made this year.
You know, obviously I took the job, you know, there a couple of years ago, and my sole goal, you know, was to improve the hurling around Wexford, you know, and that's my sole aim, because I love hurling, you know, I really do, just for the love of the game. And a lot of people criticise me, you know, and they say this, that, and the other. He comes in for 3 years, takes all the money, you know, sucks the life out of the team and the whole lot, and then runs off like that. It's an insult to me, you know, because I care so much about hurling, you know. I really do. My legacy will be watching Wexford, you know, the next 10 years, competing in All-Irelands, you know, in quarter-finals and semi-finals, you know. But Paul Galvin's after coming down there, he's part of the football panel now, and he said to me the other day, he says, look, he says, I want Lee Chin and McDonald and these boys to play football. I says, you can't do that. I says, you know, I care too much about this. I says, this is my team. I says, you know, we've got to think of the hurling and the progress we've made, Paul, you know, please. He says, no. I says, please. I said, at least give me about 3 weeks. If I resign, you can do what you want. I couldn't give a shit after that.
So come here. Who do you think should be in the All Ireland this year? Never mind who is.
You know, I don't have to say too much, Wooly. You know yourself, it's all been said, but we were absolutely robbed against Tip. You know, I mean, the referee robbed us, so I did. Every single decision went against us. Like, it was just, you know, it was unreal, you know. I said it to Liam Sheedy, I said, you got every single decision out there, Liam. I says, I knew when your man got sent off, we had it lost then. I said, don't be giving me any shot. I don't care if it was a Tipperary fella got sent off, but that's what finished the game for us, you know. But last year was the worst. We were so close last year, lads. Like, you know, we ended up losing to Clare. And that was an All-Ireland that, like, just went away from us. Like, we were within that, you know. We had Clare on the ropes the whole lot. There was 40 seconds left. Lee Chin had the ball, goes down the left. He's about to swing it over, and he gets levelled. Levelled with his shoulder. I'm like, free, brilliant. Last puck it again, we'll get it. No. Free goes the other way for Bargin. Clare go down the field and score, and we end up losing. We lost by 17 points. But look, I don't think I have to say any more than that. You know, at the end of the day, you've got the Liam Sheedys and the Brian Codys and these boys, and, you know, these are big sharks, and I'm only a small little fish at the end of the day, you know, so... Listen, I'm dying for a drink there. You got a pint or anything, do you?
Well, I do, actually. Have a drink for you. There's a free bar up there for yourself as a guest, but here, we have a drink for you before you go.
Oh, thanks a million there, Wooly. Cheers. Anyway, lads, yeah, I would say best of luck, but I hate Tip and Kilkenny, so good luck.
All right, give it up for our first panel. Lar Corbett, JJ Delaney, Owen Larkin and Brian Gavin. You're in the middle, Brian. You're reffing it here. And Lar is in a Kilkenny sandwich like he's been in lots of times before. So that's it, lads. Listen, so between 2009 and 2016, right, Kilkenny and Tipperary played each other in 6 finals. If we're being honest, it was very one-sided between Kilkenny and Tipperary in all of the games, between semi-finals, league games. But in finals, it's 3 for Kilkenny, 2 for Tip, and a draw. Do you know what I mean? Kilkenny did dominate the other meetings, as we know. Like, you played each other so many times, JJ. Like, they say familiarity breeds contempt. Like, how contemptuous did it get?
I don't know, I wasn't content anyway, but it was kind of a familiarity. You're getting, 9 times out of 10, you're marking the same guy as well, and you probably had to score to settle, and lucky enough, now the game came very, very quick there as well, so you can get your own back on as quickly as possible. You didn't have to hold on to that content down for too long, you know what I mean? But look, again, I think the 2 teams brought the best of each other as well, and competition is all about the battles all over the field. Who's Mark and Henry and Lara and Jackie are great battles down the year. Tommy and Bonner and Noah McGrath. There was brilliant hurlers on 2 sets of teams, but they always brought the best of each other as well, and there were always high scoring games as well, you know. And rarely a lad was sent off, and Brian was refereeing most of the time anyway, so we didn't have to worry about that either, you know.
Well, that's the thing, Owen. Like, I mean, in a weird way, did you like that Tipperary came so strong? Because, like, you'd won a few All-Irelands well before that, and then they came along in 2009, and you absolutely didn't get it all your own way, you know, that year, and then they beat you in 2010. Did you need them? Did Hurling needed them?
Yeah, probably did, and I think in 2009 we probably didn't pay as much attention to them as probably what we should have, because, you know, they probably took their eye off the ball the year before in war for betting, and probably should have got to the All-Ireland that year. And then they came in 2009 and we were going for 4 in a row, and, you know, all the hype was about us and they came in under the radar kind of a thing. But after 2009, definitely we started to look at them then, and, you know, started to go through a few things, you know, Jackie, Mark and Lar and things like that.
Not tactics now, because Brian doesn't do that, right?
Well, he doesn't do it to an extent, but he still looks at the opposition and what strengths and weaknesses they have and how we could exploit them. But definitely, like, we did take probably Tip for granted in 2009 because they were just after getting there, you know, and we thought we were going very well. And we seen in 2009, you know, for 60 minutes they were the better team.
Yeah. Did you get that feeling, Lar, that maybe they might have their eye off the ball going into that one?
Just to your original statement, this is a very familiar situation. You come to Dublin, surrounded by 2 Kilkenny fellas, and a referee is on their side. Now, hold on a sec now. Now, just hold on 1 second, and I'm going to explain why. So we went on an all-star trip to Argentina, Buenos Aires, and we gave 5 days, and there was one pub in the whole town. Name of the pub, De Kilkenny. That was the name of the pub, no other pub. So all drinking, so we're out for every evening, De Kilkenny was the name of it. But you know what's very, very surprising is Brian was going to drink with the Kilkenny fellas every evening. So I had to, so this was all-star trip, so you had these referees, Kilkenny were winning All Irelands, they're all going to their all-star trip. So this was found out, this is a regular occurrence. The referee that's refereeing the final is drinking with the Kilkenny fellas. I said, we've no chance, because next year they're all in the same holiday again. So lads, you work it out yourselves now. Would you give up the holiday?
He used to come on our team holidays as well, not just yours.
So it's all coming out now. Would you blow the whistle for the team you're going to holiday with?
And there was 4 vodkas for a tenner as well.
Brian, you can get a chance to defend yourself here.
I know, look, I was, suppose, lucky enough to be from Offaly, but a lot of Tipperary people mixed me up with Dermot Kirwan because Dermot ref the 2009 final.
Yeah.
And because he was from Offaly and living in Cork, I think a lot of Tipperary people felt I was the one to give the penalty in 2009, and it wasn't me. Yeah. So I just want to clear that now. So, and in fairness, the last All-Ireland Tipperary won, I refed it, so I had to give them one back, you know.
It's funny, actually, Paddy Stapleton said on the show during the week, he said, all the other Leinster counties have Stockholm syndrome with Kilkenny. They hammer us so often, we now love them.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
But, okay, so we're going to talk through some of the big talking points from those rivalries, right? And now that you've all mentioned it, the 2009 final, the huge talking point in that game was the penalty. So we have that here.
Questions if he scores it.
Well, the first foul happened outside for sure.
Here's coming for a through now. Passed the ball that little bit early, I thought. There's Power. He's held up there. Not a whole lot wrong with that. Hurling over the neck.
Oh, he just about made.
Okay, we'll start with you, Brian. There is not in a million years you given a penalty for that.
No, you're not free anyway. I suppose, look, the 2 things there, obviously there was a penalty given and Dermot probably made a mistake, but it was either a free out or a free in. The last thing it was a penalty. And it was a huge turning point, and I think that's what really kick-started the massive rivalry that Tipperary people felt in 2009 they were done over an All-Ireland, because I don't think Benny Dunn would have lashed out in a couple of minutes later. So I think that's what really ignited the great rivalry we saw in the coming years and after that. But in fairness, it wasn't a penalty, but I thought Henry hit it very well.
Oh, Henry did. Henry buried it. But, like, I don't know, like, JJ, what you think of it? Like, I mean, geez, Brendan Cummins ran out of the goals like he was going to kill Kerwin. You know, like, it wasn't... Can you say now it wasn't a penalty?
No, and it wasn't a penalty, and that makes it even better. I've no problem saying that whatsoever. It definitely wasn't a penalty, but we still won the game, so it makes no difference.
It actually should have been a free out.
So, like, I mean, Lar, are you over that penalty decision? Because you did cry a little bit about it. Is that fair to say?
Tip lads wouldn't cry, you don't really.
It's have to take me by surprise here now, JJ. I didn't think now you'd go that deep. I get my chance for evenings out.
So that's it. Like, we know it wasn't a penalty. It did change the game, though, Larry. You lost your heads after that. Well, the second goal went in very fast.
Yeah, it went in very,
that.
very quick. Yeah, the 2 goals changed the game. Yeah, without a doubt. Like, sometimes you get those decisions. Sometimes you don't. It's just that was at the stakes were at the highest. Was at the most important point in the game. So sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But yeah, the answer is it changed the course of the game. Would we have won it if something else could have happened? But for a split second in that day, I remember the tip lads we spoke about after, I think we thought that we had it. And I just think the penalty was won, and then Gerta's goal then really nailed in the coffin. That was
the end of it. And you mentioned Benny Dunn then, Brian. He swung out, which in fairness was out of character for him a little bit, Owen. But, like, I mean, he pulled on Tommy Walsh, and Tommy jumped back up straight away. And I actually said to Tommy recently, I says, geez, fair play to you for standing back up. That's honourable, not wanting him to get sent off. He says, no, I didn't want to let on a Tipperary lad hurt me.
That'd be typical of Tommy. But he's that type of lad as well, that he wouldn't be trying to get a lad sent off. He just jump up, especially in an All-Ireland final. But I think just on Lar's point, Tipperary probably thought they had the game on as well. But Peter Ryan also had a brilliant day that day. Like, Tipperary had 3 or 4 goal chances that you score every day, and PJ pulled saves out from nowhere, and that kept us in the match and it kept us in touch.
Right.
So so when the penalty did go in, we were able to kick on then.
Did you feel it was slipping away for you, JJ, around 60 minutes? That
Yeah,
game?
I did, to be honest with you. Yeah,
It looked that way.
We rode our luck really right in the first 60 minutes, but then I think it was the second goal. We were getting a sideline. Michael Cavan was running out to the sideline, and he stayed and stopped, kept the ball in play, and hit it down the field. And we got a goal out of it. He could have very easily let that ball over the line, and then you kind of make your own look there as well. Like, where he got the ball up the field because you could see we were kind of getting on top in the last few minutes, and that got the second goal there as well. Like, but no, on Peach's display that day, I seen him. I heard the same club, and he done that for us for years and years. But to do it on the biggest day of the calendar year is an absolute phenomenal performance.
Yeah, and then poor Marty felt the brunt of Brian's interview, or in the interview after match. Marty had the temerity to ask him about the penalty. And then that was the end of it, Owen. I don't know if you've seen that interview.
I've seen the clip a couple of times, good few times actually, in the days after the All-Ireland. Fair play to Marty though, because he kept firing questions at him. If that was anybody else, they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, Ryan, I'm out here." It was mental for him to even ask that question, because he should have known what Brian's attitude would have been. He wasn't going to give out.
Should have known how contrary he is.
Yeah. We'll find out later on when Charlie comes out how contrary Brian
is. Okay, so we're going to fast forward now to 2013. This is in a league final, and there was a sending off, and it happened to involve 2 of our panellists here. So we'll get a look at that.
Exactly what you expect. A real crowd pleaser. Well, this isn't exactly what you've come to see, but...
Right, hold on. What you don't see is Lar hitting me under the chin before that camera goes on there. So the retaliation was second. But Lar was cute enough to hit first. So
but you have to understand, JJ, his helmet is harder than your fist, right?
I wasn't really thinking that clearly at that stage. Pulled out with Conor McGregor at that stage, so I was.
Brian, that's a sending off, I think, even in your book, right?
That was Barry Kelly reffing that. And another. In fairness now, to hit a lad with a helmet on was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. You actually couldn't send a lad off for that. I'd feel sorry for my big man.
But you know the funny thing about this, because I was reading about this, and JJ is like the angel full back when he went full back. He never got into any messing. Brian Cody's little teacher's pet. Brian Cody was away on heart surgery, so he ran amok fighting on the field. He wasn't around JJ for that game.
Martin Ford, he couldn't control me at all, so he couldn't.
But Larry, you got surrounded then. You were actually left on your own after that, so you got a couple of digs in the helmet off JJ, which didn't hurt,
you didn't feel.
Then all the Kilkenny cavalry came in. We didn't see it on. There wasn't too many tip lads in to help you out there.
No, usual thing, surrounded again, yeah. So but I think Nolan Park lends that, the atmosphere down there is unreal, so, but I can't remember how it started. You definitely done something first.
No, I didn't, I tell you. You hit me
he
first. He
started off the conversation, you didn't see it on camera. So we don't seem to see a lot of things,
But that was 2013, Wooly, was it?
Yeah.
But I was down to ref the Leinster final the same year, but they pulled me out of that game because the 2 teams had met in the qualifier. Both of them were knocked out of the Leinster and Munster Championship.
Yeah.
And Pat McEnany rang me. He says, "Buddy," what Pat goes on, "Buddy, taking you out of that game," he says, "the Leinster final, I want you down in Nolan Park." He says, "This is going to be serious stuff," he said, "especially after the league." So after 10 minutes anyway, I actually remember this clearly at Owen. He was going to square up to someone, and I went over and I pushed Owen back, and he sort of got a fright like that. A referee could push someone, and
well, you were a friend at that stage. You were drinking.
They were drinking money.
1,000 in a normal training session. And next thing I turned round, and about a minute later, and Lara had stuck a ball in the back of the net, and the tip crowd went mad. And next thing, another minute later, and here was Aragon off with the hamstring off to the sideline, and that was tip gone. But that game was unbelievable in the championship. It was the greatest memory I ever had, even ahead of the All-Irelands with
with the great night that night, Brian, hadn't we?
But I'll never forget that qualifier, because the 2 of you had been surprisingly beaten. You were beaten by Dublin, right? And I think Tip were beaten by Limerick. And it was like a down year for the 2 teams. And then first out with the qualifier hat. I remember I was down in Kenmare, and I just remember where I was watching it. It was a beautiful evening. It wasn't one of your best years, but that match is remembered by a lot of people, Owen.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, as the lad said, the atmosphere down there was electric that night. The place was jam-packed, and you know, the old enemy coming down to Nolan Park. There's no way we were going to let Tipperary beat us that day. And Brian had stressed that. And in fairness, we were all saying it all week that Tipperary are coming down in the championship. No way they're going to win. We were going to do that. Even though we weren't going that well at the time, it was probably one of the poorest years we had in a long time. But like, we just produced that performance, and you know, I suppose after we went on then to Waterford and went extra time and then got knocked out by Cork. So like, we were struggling to find form, but we definitely found it that night.
Found it that night.
But just anyone to remember that game, Wooly, sorry, like, it was nip and tuck for long periods of that game, but when Henry Shefflin came on with 10 minutes to go, I know they had the asbestos roof in Nolan Park after, and eventually blew off, but how it didn't come off that night, like the Kilkenny supporters that night went bananas. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it was just unbelievable.
Even the roar before it, because he wasn't named on the
official
things. And Michael Fennelly and himself came back then and they were named before it, and like the roar that went up in Nolan Park that night.
It was first come, first serve in Nolan Park that day as well, so whenever you get in your ticket, lads were going in, 5 o'clock, the whole place was packed. There was nothing going on for 2 hours. Match on at 7. Everyone sitting down at 5 o'clock. We were going out poking around, and the stadium was full. It was eerie, like, you know. There's no minor game, no nothing before. So they're in there 2 hours before, you know. And Saturday evening, it was unbelievable atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely seemed that way, right? We have another incident, right? And this is from the 2011 final. So you're getting sick of each other at this point. There's a few different flashpoints, and Brian, you obviously got involved, and this is what happened.
We're pushing too many lads, Brian, again.
Remember, and he's going to report attention. I think a stick just going by, passing him, accidentally touched the referee.
Chip on the nose there, I think it might have been Chip. You see Tommy Walsh actually. Looked like Tommy Walsh was hurled through the nose. I'm not saying he hit him right under the nose.
So, Brian, I don't know if that ever happened to you before or after that. Like, I mean, getting one, like, I mean, it was a weird even bat.
Yeah. Imagine training with lads and they're doing that to you. Well, I know, I'll never forget that, because it was my first All-Ireland, and it was sort of 3 or 4 year waiting to get an All-Ireland or hoping to get one. And here was 18 minutes gone, and I actually made history. That Shemazza was on the 20-metre line, and it was the first time I was ever down that far in the pitch. And I went in to separate, and before I knew where I was looking at the ground, and here was the grass, and it was going red, and I said to myself, and next thing I saw this expression on Lar's face, and I said, I'm in bother here, because Lar, you could see Lar actually looking at me. I'll never forget it. And then Owen Kelly telling me who done it, even though...
Well, for 1 sec he was getting the red card ready because he thought I tipped that, done. He found Kelly lad put the cards back in the pocket.
So, wait a minute, Brian. So, Owen Kelly came over and says, Tommy,
it's Tommy. And I said, fuck off, Owen. I don't know what's going on. I thought my nose was definitely smashed, and the 2 doctors came on, and Ty Crowley said to me, the Kilkenny doctor, of course, the tip doctor wouldn't look at me. Ty Crowley said to me, you may come to the line now and get you patched up. He thought I'd say I was a player, that someone could come on for a blood sub, and I said, Jesus, no way am I. And then Barry Kelly, who often in Westmeath have a woeful rivalry, was warming up, so I said, no, I'm staying on here.
Oh, Jesus, thanks be to God you didn't go off.
So, look, the first aid crew at half-time patched me up properly, and look, I survived. I wasn't that bad, actually, but we got a bit of mileage over for the next few years, you know.
What was it like reffing those games, though? Like, I mean, did you notice a progression of it getting even, like, them getting a bit sick of each other? Then at the start you would have reffed, you know, different games down through the years?
Yeah, you would have been very aware of, I wouldn't say, like, when people say hatred, I don't think it was a hatred. I think both counties had huge respect for each other, but they wanted to get one up in each other. It was nearly like 2 brothers fighting in the house the whole time over the land or the farm. You know, who's going to get it? And that's what it was like. You know, I think the great respect for each other. And, but there were just, every time you'd referee a Kilkenny Tip game, you'd raise your game 20-30%. And if you didn't, you were gone. And, you know, we saw what happened to poor old Colm McAllister in 2012. Like, it just, the game got away from him, you know, when Lara went following everyone that day. But you can get away from it, and you could finish your refereeing career. You could finish your refereeing career.
Don't worry.
But look, there were savage battles, and the bigger the game was, the better. I thought I used to be up for it. And it's like a player, you had to be up for a game or you're in bother, you know.
Yeah. Like, it was interesting reading even the match report from that game, or even the build-up to it, JJ. Eddie Brennan replaced TJ Reid for that final.
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Like, Eddie tried and trusted. Like, TJ made his debut in 08, and in 11 he still wasn't trusted. Isn't it mad when you think when you look back now?
When TJ came in first now, he lit the on training field now. He was absolutely brilliant. He made the ball talk, but he wasn't the worker that he is now. You know, he was there kind of as an individual player, and Brian seen his potential, but then he kind of put manners on him for a couple of years. Came on in the 2008 final, he scored 4 points, I think, from playing in a matter of 5 or 6 minutes. He was just unbelievable. But he still was getting the loose ball, but he wasn't doing the work. And then I'd say he had a chat with Henry going away home to Ballyhale and just seeing what work Henry was doing. And then he kind of, the penny slowly dropped. He missed a couple of years of his career. If you'd wonder how good he was now if he copped on a small bit sooner, you know, the kind of way. But, you know, Eddie came in there just to mark Pádraig Maher that day, just to kind of stop him in the air. Pádraig was a huge player for Tip that year. He was actually phenomenal left half back.
He was full back that year, or
he was left half back, yeah, and he was a platform for that Tipperary team, and Eddie's job was to stop him, but he didn't only stop him, but he scored and set up Richie Hogan for the last goal, and he reeled back the ears and sprinted it through the middle and hand passed off to Richie, and Richie got the goal in the top corner, you know, so a brilliant performance out of Eddie that day, you know.
Yeah. Well, you were highly motivated going into that, I presume, Owen, because they obviously stopped you for the 5 in a row.
Yeah, like a lot of talk after the 5 in a row was that we were an aging team and we were gone, and you know, it was all doom and gloom around Kilkenny, but like inside the group we had one ambition at the start of the year, and that was to beat Tipperary in an All-Ireland final, you know, and if we could we wanted to win the All-Ireland, and if we could get Tip in the final, it was perfect. So it actually worked out perfect for us. And I remember going to Carton House in a training weekend a couple of weeks beforehand, and we were going through some more tactical stuff, as Brian does. But we looked at a few videos, and the lads nominated Jackie then to Mark Lar and try and stop him. So we had a lad on the team, on the panel at the time, John Mulhall. So John Mulhall he'd run everywhere. Like, if he opened up the door there, he'd run out the door. Like. So Jackie, he was going to be Lar for the training session. So Jackie ended up marking him then. So the boys just told John Mulhall, just go wherever you want to go. So Jackie ended up just trailing Mulhall around. He didn't hit a ball in the whole match, just trailing him around. But after, on the way home then, Martin Fogarty came over to Jackie and handed him a couple of DVDs of Lar. You know, the plays that Lar does and where he gets involved and where he doesn't get involved in. But like, we had one thing on our mind, and that was we were going to avenge 2010.
Yeah, you must have felt a lot of pressure going into that game, Lar, did you? Like, I mean, you scored a hat-trick to stop the 5 in a row. It doesn't get any bigger than that.
Yeah, I suppose to answer that question a little bit better, going on JJ's first one about not the penalty, is that it's like a fine wine, it gets sweeter every year. So that's your answer to that question.
So, pardon? So the 2011 though, even about the pressure, like, I mean, you're getting cocky with JJ now because of the penalty, so you're going to brag about...
No, I didn't feel... no, like you're talking Tip as a team,
but
or me as an individual?
you were the marked man now, whereas Owen Kelly used to be, but you had parachuted yourself now into the man that had to be stopped for Tip, right?
Yeah, but I definitely didn't feel any bit of pressure, no. Right, so we done it in 2010, then in the Munster Championship, I was still getting to score goals. We came up to Dublin and scored. So I didn't really mind. But when Jackie came out that day, it was something different. It was a man-marking job. I often got guys to mark me, but what they might do is they'd follow you as far as midfield. Or if you went in full forward, they wouldn't follow you in full forward because the full back would be told, you're not to come out of there.
Yeah.
So I used to find out very, very quick on different teams that you go in full forward, or your man wouldn't mark you. So then I knew that's my get-out strategy. Go in full for 2 minutes and then disappear somewhere else. But what happened that day is that Jackie, what you're saying is right. No matter where I went, so I couldn't shake him off. So I had to find space first and then think about how you're going to influence the game. But Jackie had his mind made up that he wasn't interested in the ball or the game. It was me that day, which was fine. So I had to try then and say, right, so what can I do to influence the game? There was nothing I could do. And I was frustrated after the game that I couldn't think of anything or I didn't see it coming. So to follow on then the following year, I gave a good few months thinking about it. How are we going to change it? And if we did meet him again, do I do the same thing again and get the same result? So
yeah, well, that leads us into the fourth one and our last one, and that's the 2012 semi-final where you and Tommy Walsh had that. You can take it up from there then.
Yeah, so I'll answer the question again and again. This is my 7th year in a row. It was in 2012. This is 7 years in a row I'm answering the same question. So I wonder, could we really have, like, I'll just play back the other tapes, but I can't keep repeating it. But I'll give it a go anyway. So what we...
Jizzy tells this one lovely.
Well, I'll take out the script. So we had to change up something. So I was the fall guy that day, right? That's fair enough. So we're all agreed on that because that's what I seem to be getting since then. That's fine. So I'm the fall guy. So I'll take 100 responsibility.
Larry, do you want to sit back now like this?
I'll take 100% responsibility. We went up a pint. We were a pint up going in at half time.
Yeah, that's what's forgotten, you know.
Everyone is happy.
Yeah.
The management, the players, everyone is happy. We're a pint up at half time of the system that we're doing. In the space of 35 minutes hurling, everyone in Ireland has a problem. No one had any problem at half time up by a pint. So now we came out, we got bet by, was it 18 pints?
Well, now people at half time would have thought it was unusual, but like they weren't getting slated.
We were a pint up at half time, everyone's happy. Not one person came to me or anyone around me and said, hey, would you change what we're doing?
Right.
So everyone is would you? I take that as that people are happy. Then everyone had a problem. Everyone had a problem then after the game. So the difference of 18 pints, and I would think that it'd be unfair for one guy to take responsibility for an 18-pint turnaround.
Yeah.
Work it out yourselves after that.
Yeah. So is it? No, and I think that's fair because it's not like it wasn't working in the first half, or not that that was working.
We didn't do it all the game. We knew that the game was going away from us there in the second half as well. And I'll just give you another scenario for this Sunday, just follow it on. So we'll just say it's probably looking like that Brendan Maher will mark TJ Reid. TJ Reid knows it's coming because Wexford done it. He knows it's coming. Pádraig Maher is probably more likely going to mind the edge of the D, right, as regards he's going to be a centre back, but he might be pushing back a bit. Looking maybe might be a spare man, right? But that's where Tip might play. So will TJ come in on top of Pádraig, and with Brendan follow him? Now you have two Tip men in the one area. Does it leave space for someone else? So we thought that day we might leave space for someone else in 2012 semi-final, and Pa Burke was going to end up being kind of spare. He went in at half-time and he had 1-2 at a half-time, or 1-1 from play, something like that.
Off Walsh?
Pardon?
Off Tommy?
Off Tommy, yeah. He had a goal from play, and he had a pint, and that two, I think it's either 1-1 or 1-2 that he had. So it was working as regards to get Pa onto ball. Did it work overall? Well, you know, the scoreline would say different.
Would say different. But that's interesting then, that my gripe with it is, why did they have to use you? Like, I mean, you were their talisman at that stage. Why could someone else not have done it? You were trying to make space for yourself.
I was trying to make space. So we had to say, like, so Jackie was going to come in at the same thing, that he was going to man-mark me no matter where I went. So I had to try and think there, where can we bring then to make Jackie think? And in that game, and the next time we were talking to Tommy Welsh, he looked out to Brian Cody twice and asked him what to do. And Tommy went like that, and Brian actually went like that back to him. and the next time you have Tommy, you can ask him that. That's what happened. So the boys weren't too sure what was going to happen. Tommy was out after getting a yellow card. Jackie was trying to tell them, look, you have to calm down now, relax here, now we'll figure it out. So they did figure it out in the second half, but the first half it worked.
What was said at half-time then, Owen? I'll go to you. Like, I mean, this must have dominated the half-time team talk.
Well, it didn't really, because we used to go in at half-time and we'd get a drop of water, and Brian and the lads would go in and have a chat, and maybe the backs might get together and the forwards would get together and see what was working, what wasn't working. So, like, I suppose JJ would probably be better to say did they get together and... I'm only messing. That was said in the dressing room. Keep going to where we're going, lads. We're flying.
JJ,
they're playing with 13, so they
what was said though? Like, you had to discuss this.
I didn't know. Honestly, didn't know what was going on until the second half, when we were down the back corner. The ball was at this end of the field, and the crowd in this corner here was roaring. So I looked around what was going on, and then I seen the four boys in the corner.
So this did not come up
I hadn't a clue what was going on until I seen that. This did not come up at half-time, that Lar was... if it was, I wasn't there now to hear what they were saying.
Jesus, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know until the second half what was going on, to be honest with you.
Right.
Then obviously, you look back and it makes sense there, but at the time,
I
was too busy focused on the ball. I wasn't involved in that.
Focus on the ball? You never focused on the ball in your life.
Well, we're in that, sir. That was in Crow Park somewhere.
But it's interesting with the man markers thing then, Owen, because, like, I mean, it doesn't often happen in hurling, and sometimes you wonder, like, Austin Gleeson recently has been man marked and he can't get into the game. Tony Kelly's been man marked, he can't. When it happens, they can't get into the game. But why does it so rarely happen that lads are like, imagine Lar, that being the first time Lar was ever properly followed wherever he went.
See, the problem with man marking is it's only really done for, the top forwards, say TJ, Henry, Lar. You don't want to leave space anywhere else for the other forwards again, because they're probably not as good, but they're, top of their game as well. So you don't want to leave space in your backline to lay in a couple of goals or whatever early on in the game. So it's really only if there's really, really dangerous players that, in the blink of an eye they can get a goal, that they're man-marked. And obviously Lar was one of them. Like, he was after scoring a bag of goals in the Munster final against Waterford that year. And again in the semi-final, I think as well, he got a couple. So, like, why would you not mark a lad like that?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, it's not done too often, but you see, hurling is it's a difficult game to bring tactics into. If you're going to leave space somewhere else if you bring another tactic into it. So I think that's the reason it's not brought into it.
It was very hard for a back to be very, very disciplined. In the ball is there and your man is here. Your instinct is go for the ball, but you have to go over here. You know what I mean? A lot of players inter-county, you know what I mean? They're going to back their own ability to hurl ball and man.
But you've always said, Kilkenny backs always covered for each other, so you're going against that instinct of helping someone out.
You're kind of leaving the other 5-2, and my man is over here, my man's not scoring. As a group of backs, they're 6 against 6, you're not 1 against 1. Like. So you're going against the grain doing it that way, but as long as the other 5 backs buy into, that's fair enough, you can't just man-mark 3 of their forwards, right? You have to pick one. And obviously, as the one was saying, the best one was always man-marked, and obviously Lark's never got man-marked.
Absolutely not.
Well, it was a fair list. Henry, right?
Henry, TJ.
Sure, anybody could keep up with a wheelchair. Like. But just on the man-marking thing, like as JJ said, it takes a special kind of a person to be able to do that. And like, just to name one, Eamon Sheehy man-marked TJ Reid in the county final in Kilkenny in 2011. And I watched it back several times after, right? He was told, Niall Rigney was overs at the time, and he was told, wherever TJ goes, he said, you just go with him, just stay on him. And TJ actually ran over a ball that day, and Eamon Sheehy ran over the ball and ran into TJ. It's just to get it in your head, just to forget about the ball and just mind your man.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a weird one. Right, lads, listen, we're going to finish up with predictions. Brian, we have to talk about the match at some point, so let's start with you.
Look, I suppose I'm like everyone in Ireland. Did I think Kilkenny being an All-Ireland final? Not a hope, no, to be honest with you. When you look at the lads on the couch and the players they had back in 2009, 8, 10, like, I don't think the Kilkenny team at the present day would live with them. In saying that, to have the Brian Cody spirit, which is never say die, have Tipperary the better hurlers, definitely. I think, will it get them over the line? It'll be very, very close. When you meet 2 teams, one skillful, and Liam Sheedy won't let them fall into the trap Limerick fell into, they'll be up for the game. I'm going to give Tip maybe a pint or 2. That's because of enough GAA with Kilkenny.
You put him under so much pressure here, you had to say that.
That's all right. That's his Christmas card gone.
Owen, I'll go to you next. What do you think's going to happen?
I think it's going to be a very tight affair. Like Brian, I didn't expect Tipperary to be in it, nor did I expect Kilkenny to be in it at the start of the year. I think it'll be very tight, but I think if Pádraig Welsh can kind of mind the house in front of Seamus Callan and kind of stop his goal threat, I think Kilkenny might just edge it by a couple of points.
Okay, Lar, what about you?
Well, it's Liam Sheedy and Brian Cody. It's 1-1 in All-Ireland finals, so it's going to be 2-1 after Sunday to Tip. And the reason why is that I think Liam is going to get his match-up a little bit better than Brian on Sunday. And I think it's going to come down to a small bit of brilliance, either just a Shamey Callan or a Colin Fennelly goal chance. And I think it's going to be kind of maybe a lack of concentration from maybe a Kilkenny back, but I think it's going to... So it's a Tip win, but I'm looking forward to seeing Shamey, TJ and Colin, the boys, just say, because they're in the top of their form at the minute. Looking forward to just say Sunday straight. The matchups, just that the referee is just throwing in the ball, just say the matchups and the lineups straight away is going to be very interesting.
No, it definitely will. We'll finish with our senior analyst here on the GAA Hour, JJ.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating game. I'm looking forward. Look, the 2
Have a guess what he's going to say?
2 teams bring the best of each other as well, you know. But Kilkenny are going to win by 2 or 3 points.
And you'll take any type of penalty, right?
Any type of penalty. Same again to be perfect. It'll keep him going for another 10 years.
And Brian is going to give James Owens a call now later on.
All right, give it up for panel 1. Brian Gavin, JJ Delaney, Lar Corbett and Owen Larkin. Welcome back to Liberty Hall. Are you ready for panel 2? Please give it up for Paddy Power Ambassador Diarmuid O'Sullivan, Charlie Carter and Derek McGrath. Wherever you want, Rock. Come on, Charlie. Jesus, Rock, you're very popular with Tip and Kilkenny. Who would have known? Before we start, Derek, I have to say there's a ban on you mentioning RT pundits or sweepers, okay? So I want to start off talking about Brian Cody, lads, and it's not just because you're here, Charlie, but a lot of people would say, and I'll start with you, Derek, that if Kilkenny win the All-Ireland on Sunday, it'll be his greatest achievement. And considering where they were 2 years ago, maybe, or after the 16 final, you tend to agree with that.
Not really. Well, I don't think he'd agree with it because he just lives in the kind of moment. I'm not sure. I was looking at it there the other day. I think there's 40 All-Ireland medalists, I think, in the 15 that'll probably start with Kilkenny. If Killian Buckley starts, I'm not sure he'll start, but even in the forward line, I think there's 21 All-Ireland medals between 4 to 6 forwards. So I would argue that the cohort of the team is actually still there since 2014, semi-final against Limerick, if you like. So I think it'd be a massive achievement in that the outside perception is that it's a new team. But if you have a forward line with Colin Fennelly, TJ Reid, Walter Walsh, young hurler of the year probably in Adrian Mullen, Richie Hogan, you have a serious amount of experience. So probably going along with the fact that I think we've been duped a small bit by the inherent ability of Kilkenny people to play it down. You know what I mean? To be able to say, we've nothing coming through. We've the conveyor belt is dried up. Now maybe it's just because you live across the bridge and you're listening to it, but they're serious hurlers. So I think, look, I'd be a massive fan of Brian Cody. I've always been. Brilliant to us, even in school, at schools level, came down to us in 07 and 08 ahead of the Hartley Cup finals and All-Ireland Colleges final. Just a brilliant, brilliant man. But I think there's a team that are capable of winning it, so, and that's not taken away from his influence,
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute, because Charlie, obviously you had your run-ins with Cody, it's well documented now, without going too much into it. You dropped off the panel, you didn't think he was giving you a fair crack at the whip, and I would 100% agree with that. I think a lot of people would. Anyone that was a Charlie Carter fan would agree with that, which I was back at the time. But looking back on it, after what happened, he was ruthless with Henry Shefflin. He was ruthless with Tommy Walsh. He's been ruthless with when you look back on it now, do you feel as bad about how he treated you? He was moving you on. Let's be honest.
He was, of course. Yeah. He probably want DJ as captain as well. Let's call a spade a spade. and the 10 points on a Monday night didn't help. No. And look, he obviously lost faith in me, and even though I was hurling well at the time, he obviously we played Dublin in Nolan Park in June, and I was captain the same day. It was the first championship match in Nolan Park, and he pawned 5 subs, and I wasn't obviously in his plans. And I had hurled well in the league final. I came on the league final, did well. It was a
lifted the cup.
10-goal thriller on a bank holiday Monday in May. And we had a challenge match against Galway in between, and it did reasonably well. So, look, I always said if I wasn't enjoying the 7 miles in and the 7 miles out, it was always time to get out. So, look, I made my decision. I obviously, once you make a decision, you have to back it. And look, life goes on. It was either me or Brian to go, and Brian definitely wasn't going.
You'd be waiting a long time to say, well, I'll wait till he goes and another lad will come in.
But look at it, he has remained kind of distant from the players since, and even before that year. But that's the way he manages. He does things his way, and it's either his way or the highway. And there's loads of Kilkenny players over the years that would have felt hard done by and maybe just didn't come out in the same way I come out. But and even some of the greats, but you'd have to look at it. I don't have to like him, but I would admire him. Jesus, he's after bringing some amount of All-Irelands to Kilkenny, 11 All-Irelands, since he came in '99, and he's after doing a great job. And look at, I would agree. he's had to put about 5 teams through his hands in I know there's some players that have overlapped, and that'll always happen, but he's after revigorating the team several times. And we didn't see aspirations weren't high, expectations weren't high in Kilkenny to start the year with this bunch, purely because of their inexperience. You had Hugh Lawler, we had a full-back, we were trying to find a full-back. We've got Conor Delaney, seemed to go well. Mark Shamie Callan in the league match and did very well in them. And then Conor got injured and he went to Hugh Lawler. So that was a big one to find. And Hugh was after doing very well. And it's not an easy place to play. Fullback is probably, not easy, but you have to be a specialised. You just do your job and let your man bust all around you.
Come here. How many?
No.
How many Kilkenny lads did you swat aside like flies that day in Croke Park? DJ was one of them anyways, was he? Comerford was the other rock,
It was Eddie, DJ, and John Hine.
John Hine, was it? It wasn't
Not half enough because they still ended up winning, didn't they?
And don't forget the poor Limerick lad that got
oh yeah, well, we know all about him. We know all about him.
Who was that? Who was that?
Jeez, I don't know.
You didn't even look.
No.
But in a weird way, they don't make them like they used to, really, lads, do they? in a weird way, Rock, the Brian Cody's management style, where it's authoritarian, it's standoffish, he's not too much into mollycoddling or man management. It shouldn't really work in the modern game. Like we all hear about players are different now and you have to treat them differently, but it works for Cody, and I suppose he has just such an aura built up now that players just want to impress him. Is that how it works?
He seems to be able to find a happy medium between the good cop, bad cop, and I suppose finding that balance is key, because the modern day player from when he first took over was that there's a fair change in attitude, there's a fair change in culture, a fair change in lifestyle. So not only have players adapted over the last number of years, I think Cody has really adapted, and his management style has changed from time to time, from the ruthlessness to cutting this, but I'd have got rid of him too for what it was worth. You can't drink 10 pints on a Monday night and go train on Tuesday at that stage anymore, right? So the thing had to move on. So it had moved on, Charlie, but you didn't. Sorry, but so
we're getting to the bottom of it now, Rock.
No, we're getting there. So there was that fine balance, and he's continued to find it. But just a quick story on him from a personal point of view. We were down in Buenos Aires on an All-Star tour in 2000, and
in the Kilkenny, we know the pub.
Yeah. We were like, don't get me wrong, right? It was an All-Star tour, but we were having a few pints. The crack was great, but the game was taking place anyway on the Saturday now, so we landed on the Wednesday, right? So you can imagine the heat in Buenos Aires now, lads in the beer, things were going great crack. The match came 3 o'clock on the Saturday. Oh, Jesus. Right? Cody happened to be manager of our team, right? So he's on Broderick from Galway. After 3 days in the beer now, this fella, half my size in the middle of the winter, right? I was giving him a few pounds at that stage. He had the speed advantage of me, right? And so I was kind of struggling, let's call a spade a spade. So Cody calls me to the sideline after 15 minutes. He said, "What are you doing?" He said. Jeez, I said, "Brian, I'm doing my best." He said, "Think about this now." He said, "In 6 months' time," he said, "you could be facing him again." He said, "Are you going to leave him walk all over?" He said, "Like that for the next half an hour." He said, that was in an All-Star tour in Buenos Aires, Cork, Kilkenny. And that said to me, that stood out to me, in my head. He's right. So I held him, I dragged him, I kicked him, I did everything, but leave him go. But that'll just tell you. That was his psyche, that was his way of thinking.
Yeah. That's crazy, Derek, isn't it? Just the psyche of a bit of crack like that, but that's not how Brian Cody's thinking.
Yeah, you're kind of just learning. I don't know. Everything Reid obviously did is wrong. Then in terms of then you're kind of you're judged on that, I suppose. But yeah, he's. But I think there's compassion there as well that we don't see. I think. Just even the language of how he used talking to Jackie Tyrrell when he was going to pick up Lar. How would you feel about picking up Lar Corbett? I think there's more compassion, but we just actually don't see. I think he's able to change according to the situation that's in front of him, but we don't see that, if you like. And but so I think he's authoritative and almost dictatorial to the outside. But I'd like to think maybe that there's a kind of a compassionate side to him as well.
I don't know.
Somebody, if he wasn't trained Kilkenny hurling team, he'd be as happy trained the village under 13 team.
Yeah,
that's just the way he is. He just lives, breathes hurling.
David Herity said in his book, he said, Brian wouldn't be the most forthcoming conversations when it comes to players. That's what we hear. Henry Shefflin, who he came on as a sub against Galway in a Leinster semi-final, thought he did well, and then didn't get any game time or didn't get starting in the final. He said, Brian didn't talk to me for the next week. This is after the game he came on. This is in his book. Brian didn't talk to me over the next week, which I found disappointing. He has a ruthless streak. He has all those characteristics that I found really difficult to deal with in my last year. His greatness as a manager comes from an ability to always create the right environment. He had tough calls to make with me, and at the end, I can see now that it would have been a betrayal of everything he stood for if he didn't stick to them. Isn't that gas? Like, I mean, he won't bend for anyone, I suppose, Charlie.
You knew very clearly if he wasn't talking to you, you were in trouble. You weren't going to get game time. That was it. It was a giveaway. If you weren't,
That's it.
Yeah, it was it.
Right.
And you ask any of the players, if you weren't getting the chat in the ear before a game, a week before, you probably weren't playing.
I'd say it was a culture shock for Henry not getting the silent treatment. But what about Liam Sheedy then, The Rock? Have you any dealings with him? From what you hear, he's a more hands-on, man management, one of the lads, but there's a line you don't cross type of manager.
Yeah, again, I suppose it's similar to Cody Woolley. He has found a balance. It was probably a big risk to take coming back in, because obviously Tipperary results over the past number of years haven't been to Tipperary standard, right? So he was putting his reputation on the line, but obviously he knew going back in there that, okay, I'll embrace the change, I'll embrace culture, I'll embrace the lads, but yet I'll still have my own stamp on it. He was very shrewd and clever in the guys he brought with him. So not only did he go in, like to bring the lads he brought with him, and especially getting Eamon O'Shea back in there was a master stroke. So he's married a very good group of players, obviously, with a marvellous backroom team. So, shrewd. He's very, very shrewd.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Richie Power was saying, let's talk about the match, because Richie Power said, and this, I think a lot of people are kind of in agreement, maybe not pundits, but a lot of people you talk to, if it's high scoring and open game with a lot of goals, I'd be very worried for Kilkenny because of what Tip did to us in 2016, and that's what they'll try again. They'll try to isolate our full back line, and if they get on top in the half back line and start spraying ball to their full forward line, Kilkenny could be in serious bother. Is with Derek, like, can Kilkenny beat Tip in a shootout, or do they have to keep it a lot tighter than that?
No, I think the Richie's right, I think, but I think they won't allow what happened in 2016 happen again. So you have two of the full back that were there the last day, Paul Murphy and Joey Holden were
two of them still there, yeah.
Left completely
isolated.
Only the 7 All-Ireland medals between the two of them. But I think if you're them, there's an inherent pride in Holden and Murphy, like they're really, really admirable characters from afar. Without knowing them, you kind of say to yourself, the stuff in them, stuff in them. So if you're in that camp during the week, you're kind of saying, no matter what happens, we're not going to leave more than 20-yard space between Conor Fogarty, Pádraig Welch and Paddy Deegan. Something like they did against Limerick, if you like. And I think that's where the intriguing thing for me, how Tip are going to get around that chord. And that's what they did against Limerick, Kilkenny. And they learned, I suppose, from the first 20 minutes against Cork. I was watching it from behind the goal and I'm saying to myself, Jesus, there's acres of space here for Horgan and Cadigan. They're going to go to town as the game goes on. Next minute, Conor Fogarty sits back. Pádraig Welch comes back on Cadigan. Joey Holden almost sits back. And their half forward and come out into the kind of middle third. Like we all know they've done for years, for years.
Do you think Fogarty did that off his own back, or he got an instruction to do it? Or do you think he just has enough intelligence to go, Jesus, I must hang back here?
I think he did it, without taking from Brian's. Going with everything we know about Brian, it was almost kind of... And that's the skill as well. We didn't talk about that, where because he's so, stand backish, if you like, that the empowering of the players then to kind of make the decisions on the pitch can become a more powerful source of help, if you like. So I say Fogarty, I think Fogarty was on Luke Meade at the time, and he's probably saying to himself, well, Luke Meade is not going to damage me with 5 or 6 points. I'm the one that can afford to sit back here, and he's John Donnelly coming back from right half forward into that area then, and they just completely they squeezed the life as they have done to teams since, go back to
2006.
2006 final where Don Logue looked down the field and all he can see is stripes. So I think it'll be high scoring, but I think Holden and Paul Murphy and Hugh Lawler will hold their own, which is more intriguing from a Tipperary point of view. If it's drying up going into Callan, if it's drying up going into John McGrath, will they have to relocate them at different times of the games, which will be the most interesting thing for me.
Yeah. What were you going to say there, Rock?
No, just go back to Eric's point in 2006. Like that's it's this whole myth of Kilkenny don't do tactics, right? They do it in a very clever way. Like even go back to Cork, take their previous 2 games, the semi-final and quarter-final, right? Came under pressure against Cork. all of a sudden, right, they allow Cork to take the short puck out, they set their wall, they set their banks back along the half forward and drop one out. Joey Holden always found himself free just in front of JOE Lawler right for the second half of the Cork game. Same, just concede the puck out, set our wall up. No break the wall if you can. Be brave enough to break the wall if you can. Find your pockets of space you were having. Theoretically it's fine, we can talk about it all day long, but having the players to actually do it and go about the business in the right way, it's a huge help to Cody as well.
Yeah. In 2016, Charlie, it's like I'm sure Cody gets some criticism in Kilkenny because like the way he left his full back line out to dry that day for a full game was unusual, right? So Tipperary full forward line, Callan got 13, 7 from play. Bubbles got 1-5, 1-3 from play, and John McGrath got 1-3 from play. Like, I mean, they went to town for a full game. Yeah. You know, that can't like he has learned from that. You think he learned from that, but then you see the Cork game where Horgan and Cadigan were going to town, and it's like, you know, that was 2 years on.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll look at the 2016 All-Ireland.
3 years on.
It's only 3 years ago, so look at poor old Joey Holden got hung out to dry the same day and took a lot of flack for it.
Yeah.
And fairness to Joey, he's after bouncing back and he's having a great year. And look, we'd have to give a bit of respect to Seamie Callan. He's a goal getter, and he's kind of a guy, if he gets his gander up, he'll absolutely destroy you. But if you cut the ball out to him and frustrate him for the first 15 or 20 minutes, you'd have a chance. But in fairness to Seamie, he doesn't panic. You know, he's an experienced guy, and he'll wait and wait and wait. But we have to give him a bit of respect and give the boys a bit of cover in the full back line.
That's the cover, and like, I mean, the big bad wolf word is the sweeper, Derek, and it seems to
Taxi.
The long and short of it is, if we'd had to go with a sweeper that day, who knows what would have happened.
I mean, okay, there's a sweeper as your centre back, and then there's a sweeper bringing back a forward, and the forward coming back gets all the bad press, but the sweeper as a centre back gets a free pass. But they'll have to use their centre back as a sweeper, Derek. Is that fair to say? He'll have to.
And they have done for 20 years.
Yeah, a long time.
We don't call it sweeper, just call it a lad dropping back.
Yeah.
we don't like door sweeper in Kilkenny.
And in fine print, definitely not a sweeper.
Yeah, I think they will. I think Pádraig Welch will sit back, and I think the value of having Pádraig Welch on the ball for Kilkenny is huge. Now, the interesting thing from that point of view then is, will Tip locate a score? Will they put Bubbles instead of Dan McCormack line in on Pádraig Welch?
Noel McGrath, yeah.
Will they put Noel McGrath even free up? And I think Conor Brown is going to follow Noel McGrath around all day. Like, I think, you know, the evidence is there. He went with Dara Fitzgibbon, and he went with Keane Lynch the last day. Did really good kind of job without people seeing, and kind of, you know, in terms of what he was doing, very effective job. So if Noel has been held in the middle of the field, will we see him at centre forward, and therefore Pádraig then we might be tempted out of the hole, if you like. So that's interesting. But I think Pádraig Welch will drop back. I think if Conor Fogarty is on one of the, not the assassins as I call him in Tipperary, you know, maybe if he's on Niall O'Mara or Dan McCormack, he might say to himself, I can tuck from the wing back as well as and if I'm not on Bubbles, John McGrath, Seamie, or I'm missing Jason Ford, fellas that can kill you, if you like. I think Fogarty might tuck from there as well, but that they will definitely be as defensive as they always have been, and so will Tip, I think.
Yeah,
you could see someone sitting back a little bit in front of Colin Finlay as well. He's on fire.
They'll have to as well on both sides.
They'll be more tactical than it has been 3 years ago. Things have moved on, and teams are moving on with it, like, you know.
Yeah, the game has moved on in those 3 years, Rock. Like, I mean, are you like the style of play? The ball isn't in every game now. The ball isn't given away as easily as it used to be.
No,
so your big clearances would be gone now.
Oh, gone. Oh, absolutely outdated. no doubt about that. Primary possession is key. You know, your puck out strategy is key. There's so many key factors. But just go back to Kilkenny for a second. When you've Walter Welch and John moving back the field, right, the two of them coming back, they're 45, 50 yards from the own goal. They're making it compact, they're compressing. So then when Kilkenny turn over the ball, who are they looking for? The out ball or the two boys straight away? Get the ball to Walter, to John and the wings. They're playing through them. So it's not just one. They have the two boys working back. Their midfielders being pushed in. The boys are taking the wider space. It's just compacting the whole thing. The minute they turn over the ball, they can transition it very quickly. And the key thing is when they look up the field, you've 4 forwards, then so you've plenty of space in Croke Park to put. If you can't find a man, you can put the ball into space, and the guys know that. It's look, you can talk about it. We've all seen the way the game has changed, right? Players have changed, the physical fitness, whatever, the hurling, the speed. even the weight of the ball is being discussed now. Should it be changed? Shouldn't it be changed? There's so many variables to this thing at this stage you could talk about it. And that's the wonderful thing about the game. We could talk about it for hours and hours and hours and we'll never get bored.
Yeah.
You know?
Charlie, do you think you'll see a surprise from either team? Like, will something come from left field, or do you think that's...
To play now on the day?
Yeah.
Word has it, Kilkenny, that James Marsford is supposed to be hurling very well, so who
Right.
knows, he could be one. Like, look at Cody, has done it before. He did it with Walter in 2012 in the replay against Galway and ended up getting man of the match. But going back to Brian and tactics, like, we would... If McGarry had to hit a sharp puck out back in my time, I say Brian would have a canary on the sideline. But now you see Owen Murphy and he pinging balls, and I mean, he's given them a license to make up his own mind at what play should happen at a certain time, I'd imagine. But he definitely has changed a little bit, you know.
How has that gone down in Kilkenny, as a matter of interest?
Oh, we had to move with it, I suppose. You know, if you're sitting in the defence sitting back, there's no point pumping long balls. No, and we have good ball winners in Walter, but you got to mix it up a bit. And he has conceded and gone with the short one as well. And
yeah.
It's worked well.
Go on. What about the matchups on the tip side then? Do you think see James Barry coming back, Derek? There's some talk of that for Fennelly, because obviously he'd have the strength for him.
Yeah, and because their selection was probably based on the fact that they knew they'd have an extra defender against Wexford, you know, playing Seamus Kennedy and playing Barry Heffernan. I'm in between, and I'm not really sure yet, because if as Lar said, I heard him saying that Ronan Maher might go to full back on Colin Fennelly. And then if TJ is picked by Brendan Maher, knowing Cody, will TJ then find himself in the corner for a while, bringing Brendan Maher into corner back, and then you're without two of the Mahers in the half back line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have two of the Mahers, Ronan and TJ, or Ronan and Brendan inside the full back line, and you're left with a half back line, possibly then of Barry Heffernan, Seamus Kennedy, and Pádraig. So I think they'll always leave two of the three Mahers in the half back line, and they might hand over TJ even between the half back line and full back line if he goes to full back line. So the other interesting one is Seamus Kennedy was trialled, I suppose, at full back last year in a couple of matches with Michael Ryan. You know, do they go in a match up there with Colin Fennelly, or do they take back James Barry into the team? I'm not sure. It's hard to answer the question. I'd be in between on that, what they should do. But I think they have. I'd say, looking at O'Shea's psyche, even I remember just reading a small bit about him, where a few years ago he was talking to some player and he said, "Jesus, we compromised our principles today. We went defensive, and he was all attack, no matter what. And we'll go at him, and we'll go at their pillars." He said in one of the lads' books, he said, "We'll go at the pillars and we'll go at him all day long." So there's a feeling that if you take the Mars away from the half back line, that Tip are missing some bit of their identity in terms of what they're going to bring to the game Sunday. So I have a feeling they're going to trust more than we think. You know, and if the matchup materialises between TJ and Brendan Maher at centre back and centre forward, I think you might see Pádraig just tucking in from left half back to mind whoever's with Fennelly.
Will he be on what? He'll take
on Walter, yeah, but he might say to himself, "Listen, Walter's going to get 3 points. I'm willing. TJ might do more damage," and that money just trying to put yourself on the heads of the other lads. You know,
it's an interesting one, Charlie, isn't it? The matchups on both sides.
Yeah, look at Walter, and you mean if that happens, Walter will be inclined to go looking for ball, and I mean he'll become the man, the go-to man. No better man than Walter. Go down that right wing and slap one over, you know. But no one wants to give away goals. It's ghastly, you know. It's a big point in the game if you give away a goal, you know. So, you know, TJ the last day scored nothing from play, worked his socks off for his team. It was probably as good a game as I ever seen him from start to finish. And you know, his work rate was savage. And you know, I mean, Kilkenny to win will have to play like they played in the first half against Limerick for the full 70 minutes. You know, if it opens up a bit, Tipperary forwards every one of them are, you know, they'll punish you. It's just, but look, Kilkenny will be trying to keep it as tight and turn it into a battle as much as they can, you know.
That's the thing. One thing, Rock, with you guys in Cork, you kind of showed up Tipperary a little bit for a lack of pace. You know, you ran them all over the place, the half back line, and that was an All-Ireland winning half back line. And Kilkenny don't have the pace up front to expose the Mars. Lack of pace, you know, the perception of a lack of pace.
Yes, the perception of lack of pace, to be honest with you, but, you know, like what the Mahers are doing, right? So their mentality is, be it Brendan Pádraig or Ronan, right? Wooly there is, I mark a Wooly today. Wooly thinks I'm slow, right? So this their psyche, right? So that he's thinking, once the cornerback gets the ball up at the other side of the field, where they're going to hit it? They're going to hit it to my outside, or they're going to hit it down my wing. So they're doing their homework while the ball is at the other end of the field, right? They're putting themselves in the strongest position. They're touch tight, or they're that step in front, right? You look at them, they're very rarely playing from behind. They're always level or in front. They're expecting or anticipating every ball is going to be playing down to them. They're using their heads. Like sometimes, you know, okay, it's great to have speed and it's great to have legs, but you know, you have to box clever as well, and these guys are constantly boxing clever, and they're always in the right position. You'll never, very, very rarely, you would see them caught out of position. They'll always be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's actually interesting with Nash's puckouts caught them rotten that day because they were following their men, where I think since that day now, they're almost going zonal, where they're letting them off and someone else picks up. Nash's puckouts don't work as well now,
They don't work as well because the boys stayed in their own, they looked after their own territory, the zone marking you just spoke about. They were willing to sacrifice runners, leave them go and leave. Once they left their zone, another guy coming in, that was their responsibility. Yeah. And it did. It was the, it was the same for the Cork and who else did they do it to? Kilkenny.
Galway did it to the league final
as well, yeah. League final, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're Cork manager next year, you'll have to work out. Okay, I won't say any more on that after getting the rock evil eyes there.
Do you get a call for an interview yet?
Who's going to win it then? Derek, we'll start with you.
I think Tip will win. Sorry, no, but I actually think Tip will win because I think they have a bit of an edge motivationally as well. I think the general perception, you know, even how Sheedy might use this is that if you get in Tipperary's faces like that they're kind of brittle, you know. I think that's a perception that made it permeated its way to kind of the Tip dressing room, and I think Sheedy, even though he won't talk about this on Monday if he wins or Sunday evening, I think it'll be used like as regards, you know, everything. You can question your hurling or your fitness or otherwise, but if you're questioning, you know, Tipperary character, and I can just imagine him, you know, he came down to us in 2012, we were in the county final against Dungarvan, and we had him down to Tuesday night. He came in. He was very, very impressive now to a senior group of lads. And Milan is mad enough, and after he came in, he was worse. Like, you know what I mean? So ahead of the Sunday, we were playing the county final on Sunday, and I was manager, and we had Sheedy down to Tuesday night. It was hugely impressive. I think I saw a bit of that aggression that perhaps. Again, maybe you don't see it as much. You see a bit of animation and passion.
Did you see the clip at the end of the Wexford match?
Yeah.
He was wired.
He gave a couple of Ric Flairs and all. Yeah. So I just think they have an edge motivationally, and I think they'll find a way. I just think they're going to find a way, even though. I don't know, and I hope Kilkenny win the minor because the captain of Kilkenny Minors is in our school and he's an absolute gentleman, lovely young man, James Aylward. So I'd love to see Kilkenny win the minor, but I think Tipperary will win the senior.
Okay, Charlie?
Look, I think it's going to be, obviously it's hard to call. It's going to be hopefully a titanic battle. If it's a loose game, I'd worry a little bit for Kilkenny. If it turns into a titanic battle, I know the Kilkenny lads will stay hammering away. And look at it. I suppose we're looking forward to the subplot, the two boys on the sideline as well, Sheedy and Cody. But look, after Titanic battle, I think Kilkenny will be a couple of points.
Kilkenny by a couple of points. All right, I don't know how it's after working out like this, Rock, but it's 3-3.
It's 3-3.
And you've the casting vote, so we'll leave it down. We'll leave it down to Paddy Power ambassador.
So you say Cork meant to stick the knife into Tipperary or Kilkenny, is it? Jeez, I'd hate that.
You don't have two knives.
Oh, two knives. God. It's funny, you know, Frank, my Paddy Power called him at the start of the year. Actually, when we were going through, you know, who we'd see later in the stage, I actually had Kilkenny and Limerick in the All-Ireland final. That was the pairing I had. Why Kilkenny? I suppose Limerick, look, and to be remiss of us not to remark on them in the year they've put down. They were wonderful champions, wonderful ambassadors for the game. They kept their principles all year long. They were just outfought and outworked by a Trojan Kilkenny team, right? So, you know, wonderful year for them. Great champions. I think they were great for the game. So fair play to them in everything they've done. Kilkenny, right? And I was talking to Derek about this before. I remember in 2005, the O'Connors and 2 or 3 Newtown lads came back into the Cork panel after winning an All-Ireland Club Championship. They won it in March 2005, right? They came into our panel. They'd be missing for nationally, but the lift, them guys coming in, them 4 or 5 guys coming in who won All-Ireland Club medals, it brought, okay, we'd been successful in 2004, but it just brought the whole thing up another level. It was a fierce jolt and a fierce shot in the arm at the right time. Kilkenny had that this year. They had a couple of guys coming back from injury. They'd been successful at colleges. The whole thing was building nicely. I think Cody knew in his own mind he will stumble across his right team and he will stumble across his best 15, which I think he has now. Charlie spoke about a couple of guys who've come in and out, right? I think he has his best 15. If he'll go to a shootout, obviously Tipperary have the guns and they have the firepower to take out any team. But Cody and Kilkenny would like to bring it to their terms. They like to play the game in their terms. They'll slow it down. They'll make it physical. They'll get their matchups right. And on that basis, and it's very, very hard, right? We've learned for years to give the challenge, when Kilkenny were at the top of the game, to give the challenger, give them the nod, right? Whoever it is will be Kilkenny. It's a very hard thing to do back against Kilkenny in All-Ireland final. Their histories there, Cody's history's there. If he wins, it'll be remarkable. I think it'll be 12 All-Ireland titles he'll have manager, so that in itself will be massive. But I'm going for Kilkenny. You're going for Kilkenny? As much as it hurts, I'm going for Kilkenny. And it would hurt probably more if it went the other way.
So there you go. 4-3. It's going to be Kilkenny. You've heard it here first on the GAR. Listen, that's all we've time for. I hope you all enjoyed the show. We had a great time. We'll be back on Monday. I'm sure I'm going to head out to the winning team's hotel and annoy a few players on the morning after winning an All-Ireland. And we'll bring that to you on Monday. So we'll talk to you then. Good luck.